Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our EasySoft online webinar, everything you need to know about page 3 of the closing disclosure. My name is Heather, and I'm the product support specialist here at EasySoft. Today, I'm going to be reviewing a purchase CD, and on page 3, the cash to close table, as well as the summaries of transactions, how these fields are used, and how they populate. I've already gone ahead and filled in some specific fields in the closing. So on page 1, you'll see that I do have it marked as a purchase. I filled in a sale price of $300,000 with a loan amount of $200,000. At the bottom, we have costs at closing, and you'll see that there's $400 noted here. I've gone ahead onto page 2 and filled in $200 in loan costs and $200 in other costs. So at the bottom, you'll see our cash to close is now $100,400. Once we go to page 3, you'll see that some of those numbers have already populated. At the top is our calculating cash to close table. In the left-hand column, you'll have the ability to add in any loan estimate information if you've done this outside of the software. And good news, we actually are going to be adding our loan estimate in within the next month or so. So you'll be able to create your loan estimate right in EasySoft Online software. The right-hand column is going to be our final numbers that we're going to start entering in the next section below. Please note, in the third column, you will be able to mark if this amount did change between the loan estimate and the final. So you can choose the yes radio button and enter in your information. And when this prints out on your closing, you'll see bullet points for those 1 or 2 options that you've typed in. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll right past this section and review it at the end of the page. So we're now at our summaries of transactions, and these are our borrower's transactions in the left-hand column and the seller's transactions in the right-hand column. You'll want to make sure that when you fill out your closing, you're filling out from left to right, so the numbers will populate, and I'll show you that as we go along. So due from borrower at closing is $300,400. You'll see the sale price of the property pulls in from page 1. And please note, if you're not familiar with this, if the field is grayed out, this is pulling from another section on that page or another page itself. The sale price of any personal property included in sale can be entered in here. That could be anything from a fully furnished home to including appliances. So anything within that category can be filled in the third line down. Your closing costs paid at closing is that $400 we talked about in the beginning. This is pulling from page 2, our loan and other costs. We do have a section for adjustments, and I've already entered 2 examples here. You can put in a tenant security deposit. So I'll enter in $1,500. And then any rent from the tenant collected in advance by the seller would also be considered an adjustment. So I'm going to note that at $3,000. Our next section down is our adjustments for items paid by seller in advance. So you'll see that we're getting into the taxes, and what we're going to want to do is utilize our tax proration at this time. So you'll see that at the top, we have 5 different tabs, so you can fill in the appropriate tab for your city and state. I'm going to enter in the city taxes, and I'm going to note them at $1,500 for the quarter. I'm also going to note that the seller already paid these in full. So what's going to happen is the tax proration is going to do the calculation of the seller's responsible for number of days, And then at the bottom, it'll let us know if they've overpaid or underpaid. So in this situation, they've overpaid. I'm going to apply it, and it's going to populate into the proper section on page 3. Once I hit apply, I can move on to my next tab. So I'm going to put in my county taxes. I have these noted as semi-annual, and I'm just going to put in $1,000. Again, it shows that the seller has overpaid. We want to hit apply and make sure that you see that message at the bottom, that that tax proration value has been entered. I'm going to move over to the assessments, and I'm just going to note this at $100. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have the amount paid by seller as only half of that. So we'll see now that they've actually underpaid, and that'll show up in a different section on page 3. And I'll show you that in a couple minutes. Don't forget to hit apply before going to that next tab. Now, if you live in a state where school taxes are separate from your city taxes, you do have the option to enter that information here. I'm just going to enter in 500, and it'll show that the seller actually overpaid. I'm going to apply that and then move on to sewer. I'm just going to enter in what I pay for my sewer, which is $84, and that it was paid in full. So they've also overpaid on this section as well. So once you've entered in all the appropriate taxes and you've hit apply on the last tab, you can close out the box. And now what we're going to see is that page 3 has updated with the adjustments for items paid by seller in advance. So our city and town taxes, our county taxes. Now note the assessments aren't there because they had underpaid. So we're going to see that in a lower section. We have our school tax here, our sewer adjustment, and I also put in another example because you can add into this section. So I added in a planned unit development or / condo assessment paid. I can enter in the amount for that, and that'll get added as well. I do want to point out, I had said this earlier, that you want to enter in from left to right or borrower, and then the seller will fill in. So you'll see that our numbers are populating in the seller column as well. So our next section down is our paid already by or on behalf of the borrower at closing. And you'll see that this is set at over $200,000. This is anything that's been paid by the lender or in advance by the seller at this point. This is where we want to enter our deposit in. And then you can enter in any existing loan assumed or taken subject to in this section. There is an option to add a seller credit in as well. And I've also noted 2 examples for other credits. So one is transferred escrow balance in a refinance transaction. And the next is a gift from family. Now these you want to make sure that you're entering in if they do not have a place to enter on page 2. That's why these extra fields are here. Now we're down at the adjustments for items unpaid by seller. Now you'll see that our assessment is noted at the $18.22 because these were underpaid. And that's why I like the tax proration box, because it actually will tell you if they've over or underpaid, and you don't need to get a calculator out. Another example to put in this section is your utilities used by the seller in advance. So they're going to be there, let's say, till the end of August. Closing's the 6th, but the bill's not going to come till September. So we know ahead of time that they spent $150. right here. So now you'll see at the bottom, our calculations have all populated. Our total due from the borrower is $307,726 and change. Our total paid already by or on behalf of the borrower at closing is over $240,000. Now remember, this is anything that was paid in advance by the seller, a deposit, and also the amount that the lender or the loan amount will be. So currently our cash to close is $67,658. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll back up so you can view the table at the top of the page. You can also be able to, we'll be able to compare your loan estimate and your final at this time, and then you can mark if they were changed or not. You'll see our down payment is still noted as $100,000. Our deposit is also noted. And reminder, those grayed out fields are pulling from somewhere else. So we know our deposit was filled in lower on the page under the summaries of transactions. So again, our cash to close is $67,658 and change. You want to make sure that you go ahead and fill in the summaries of transactions prior to reviewing anything in the table at the top of the page. The only reason is we don't want to affect the cash to close if there's something that needs to be entered in lower on the page. If you do have any discrepancies, you can go back and review your numbers both on page 1, 2, and 3. So if we were to go back to page 1 right now and scroll to the bottom, you'll also see that our cash to close matches what we see on page 3. I do want to make note that this was a purchase, okay, purchase closing disclosure. You do have the option in our software to choose a refinance, a construction, or a home equity loan. If that's the case, you'll be able to create that, which I've already done here. I've created the same closing as a refinance. So you'll see all of our numbers are the same, our sale price, our loan amount, but our cash to close is a little bit different because this is our refinance. The other difference here is that page 3 is not your cash to close page. You'll actually have a payoffs and payments page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter a payment in here. You'll see that that totals at the bottom. And then we have a calculating cash to close table, a little bit different than the purchase, but you still have your cash to close options and your loan estimate and your final column as well. So you'll see our cash to close is $174,600. The payoffs and payments page will also show if you're creating a construction or a home equity loan as well. Please feel free to reach out to support if you have any questions regarding the cash to close page or anything else within the software. You can always come in, review our knowledge articles by clicking support at the bottom of any page in the software. We are on live chat 9 to 6 Monday through Friday Eastern Standard Time, and you can create a support case 24 hours a day from our support page here. If you want to utilize the knowledge articles, just make sure that you click on EasySoft Online, and you'll be able to review all of the articles that have been posted within the last month. You can also contact us at our 800 number if you have any questions for any departments here at EasySoft. Thank you.